Number 8 is, speaking of milestone moments, I mean, I think this is a milestone resolution within the Coca-Cola Fairlife project process. A lot of work has been done by the Coke Fairlife team and also the town team, attorneys, engineers, 30 agencies around the state, looked at 1,800 pages of original, I don't know what it's, prepared work on this to describe all the environmental things on this project. I guess I would say that unless the town board has any questions, and whether those questions would be for Jerry Goldman, who the town retained a couple months ago from Wazzoviat to counsel us through this secret process. On cue, the man gets up and gets to the podium.
I'll be ready.
Yes, because it is my intention to make a motion to make a determination of, a negative determination of significance on this, which negative in this case would be a good thing, but there is no significant environmental issues that were found or noted by the 30 agencies and everybody that looked at this. But before I do that, does the town board have any questions for Jerry?
I don't have any questions. I just want to thank Jerry for your communication with respect to the research and all the work that you've done. Clearly it was a heavy lift, so thank you very much, Jerry, for your input. Appreciate it.
I can just share a thought or two. The town team was exemplary to work with. Everyone who's sitting around the table pretty much had a piece of the effort in reviewing all of the information, which ultimately wound up being about 2,800 pages of information, analyzing a number of different potential environmental impacts. You have in front of you tonight a resolution to adopt Part 2 and Part 3 of the Environmental Assessment Form. The conclusion in Part 3 of the Environmental Assessment Form is the determination of environmental significance, and as the supervisor pointed out, the review and the resolution that is before you is to adopt what was referred to as a negative declaration under the State Environmental Quality Review Act, which is essentially a finding that there are no significant adverse environmental impacts from this project. In support of that determination, the town did complete what's referred to as Part 2, which is an identification of potential project impacts, as well as a Part 3 evaluation of the magnitude and importance of those impacts. As part of the Part 3 analysis, there is a list of agencies which did review this, outside agencies, going from the Monroe County Department of Planning and Development, going all the way through. We received final comment from the Monroe County Department of Transportation actually yesterday. So we have fully annotated the document. In addition to that, what has been prepared is essentially a 20-page, is a 20-page explanation, if you will, of the rationale for each of the impacts, because the obligation of the town board is to take a hard look at the environmental impacts or potential environmental impacts and to make a reasoned elaboration of the rationale for making your determination of significance, either positive declaration or negative declaration. But the document, the Part 3 narrative which is attached, constitutes that reasoned elaboration. I was corrected on one change, if I can, on the Part 3 narrative on page 10 of that narrative. At the end of the paragraph, the first paragraph on the page, we should, for clarity, add the words along county line road. And with that change, I think our entire team is comfortable with the document that is put before you for your consideration. And with that, again, I'm prepared to answer any questions you may have.
Would I to assume by that nobody has any questions for Mr. Bolden?
Or if I put everybody to sleep already.
No, no.
Yeah, when I was reviewing it all.
I love listening to you talk, Jerry. I'll tell you what, this is one that it's where the supplement 2 and 3 and all that is 20 pages. The resolution is only a page and a half, and I'm going to read it word for word. So this is a resolution of the town board, the town of Webster adopting part 2 and part 3 of the full environmental assessment form and making a determination of significance under the State Environmental Quality Review Act for the development of a production facility by Fairlife LLC, a subsidiary of the Coca-Cola Company in the town of Webster. At a regular meeting of the Webster Town Board of Webster, New York, Orange County, held at the town board meeting room on the 7th day of September 2023. All 5 board members were present. This following resolution is offered up by Supervisor Tom Flaherty and moved to its adoption. Whereas a proposed development of real property located at the eastern terminus of Tibor Road for a dairy processing facility consisting of a total of 110.4 acres has been proposed by Fairlife LLC. And whereas the town of Webster Town Board, after due notice and consent of all involved agencies, either by express consent or implied consent by failure to object within the mandated notice period, established itself as lead agency for the conduct of the coordinated environmental review of this type 1 action on August 17, 2023. And whereas the town board has reviewed and carefully considered the potential environmental impacts of the project as proposed and mitigated by Fairlife, as set forth in the part 1 of the full environmental assessment form, as supplemented by the additional materials, studies, and responses to comments provided by the project sponsor, comments from involved agencies and interested parties, as well as comments from town staff and consultants. And whereas the town board has evaluated whether each potential environmental impact is adverse and significant, and whereas the town board is mandated to complete part 2, the identification of potential project impacts, and part 3, evaluation of the magnitude and importance of project impacts and determination of significance of the FEAF, which is the full environmental assessment form, to document its evaluations, findings, and conclusions. Now therefore be it resolved that the town of Webster Town Board adopts the attached parts 2 and 3 of the FEAF and determines that the Fairlife project will not have any significant adverse environmental impacts, and therefore hereby issues a negative declaration under the State Environmental Quality Review Act. That is my motion.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilwoman Nataldi? Aye. Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn? Aye.
Thank you, Jerry. And by the way, thank you Haskell, thank you Fairlight, thank you Hope, thank you Tom, where you are, Tom Walsh, from Barkley Damon. I'm sure I'm missing some people from the Coke team. Thank you to MRB. Thank you to Campus Construction Management, on the town team, to the town department head. I mean, it's unbelievable how many people have had input on this process in the last couple of months. It's been impressive, so thank you. And I'm sorry if I missed any one of you. Okay, well, The next one, number 9 tonight, out of an abundance of caution, we had put a resolution to set a public hearing for 2 weeks from tonight on the assumption that the town board might be entertaining at that time an industrial use permit for the Fairlife project. Through some other research that I think, Josh, you did, and also with our legal team, there is no need for a public hearing for that.
That is correct. The public hearing portion on the project will take place at the planning board, and then the planning board will provide its report and recommendation to the town board, and then the town board essentially votes to grant the permit. So there is no public hearing associated with that. So we're therefore withdrawing this resolution.
I'm so used to looking over at Charlie and saying, am I right in assuming I don't have to do a resolution? Well, I guess, I'm just withdrawing this. Does there have to be a formal resolution to withdraw? Bill, you might need to go to the authoritative figure on this along with Kyle or Patty.
We have it on the agenda as setting a public hearing. We can just rescind it or table it, either way. You're not gonna do a public hearing. It's not required.
We're not tabling it. We're just
It's not required, so just take it off the agenda.
We're withdrawing resolution 9 tonight for the reasons that Josh just articulated. How's that sound? Sounds good to you? Resolution 10 tonight. Did all of our friends from Coke and Fairlife just leave the building? Is it something we said? Well, resolution 10, is an interesting one that I guess, Art, I probably would have you speak to before we vote on this.
Thanks, Supervisor. So, this is a resolution to sign an agreement with Barton and Judas Engineers. Barton and Judas, as we call them, they were the engineer of record for phase 1 for this sewer treatment plant. They're the engineer of record for phase 2. They know our plant pretty much better than we do. They have been in all of our meetings with Coca-Cola Fairlife, and we're asking that they review the pre-treatment, the Fairlife pre-treatment drawings and specs, so we create some consistency with our communication and what they're producing and what we're receiving. So this is a contract, it's a proposed contract of $25,000. It is a time and expense contract, so it could go above that, it could go below it, if it goes above it, obviously, there would need to be a contract amendment.
Well, and this is why, I wish that some of the Coke team had left, so they could have heard this firsthand instead of reading it. This is the type of thing where our code says that if the town, Josh, correct me if I'm wrong, if the town has to hire a certain firm to help with a project in town, we have the authority to pass that cost on and get reimbursed by the developer.
That is correct.
Okay. Now, we have held off on doing anything like that with Coke because Coke and Fairlife's the revenues that we're bringing in from the various applications, planning board submission, I think on July 12th. Josh, our average fee to submit in drawings to the planning board is about $900 for a development. How much was Coke's and Fairlife check?
It was a little over $30,000.
$30,000, okay. And granted, there's work that had to be done, so that money is brought in for a purpose. That's part of our fee schedule and how they do it. And there are other milestones along the way as this moves along, if it does move along, where Coke will, and building permits, there's a fee for that. There is the 3.5% fees that Paul, very timely, explaining about our fee structure for the site work in an engineer's estimate. We don't know how much that revenue is going to be to the town, but it's pretty safe to say that revenue, I know Paul, you and I have talked about it, we will keep keep track of that revenue, and we will keep track of the expenses, not only internally of how much time our department heads have had to put in on the project, but also to make sure that we have the cost of our, what do you call it, is he still here? Yes, he is. Jerry Goldman of MRB, and to some extent, this one that you just described. Art. It's long, but I'm glad you came back in. I'm glad you brought him back in. But I'm not going to say it again. So any questions from the board before we vote on this?
No.
All right.
And if there are no other questions, I would move to approve and authorize the supervisor to sign a proposal to obtain services from B&L to review the Fairlife pre-treatment drawings and specs when they become available on the town's behalf to the total, do we want to do not exceed?
I think at this point we can do a not exceed, I think that'd be appropriate. Like I said, it is a time and expense. So depending on how many meetings, how many revisions
Sure.
you need to look at, we can always come back to that point.
And they did provide us with their billing rates and the proposal and all of that.
That is correct.
So I would make that motion not to exceed $25,000.
Second.
Councilwoman Conley?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilman Cato? Councilwoman Wynn? Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye. Okay, I'm not going to go back through my monologue to the last one, but the next one, number 11, somewhat falls in the same category, that monologue. It was nice to see over the last couple of weeks that as the Coke Fairlife team, the town team has kind of gotten our communication pretty tight. That I think initially Coke was looking at bringing on Passero Associates locally here to do the pipe, and he said, no, we'll take that over unless you guys, we'll take that over at the town. And Costage, well, I'll hand that off to you at this point, or to describe a little bit more.
Great, thanks Supervisor. Yes, this is almost identical to the previous resolution with B&L. We'll be hiring Costage Engineering to evaluate, do schematic design, cost estimates, bid documents, and construction oversight on the upsizing of the conveyance pipe from the Fairlife site on Tibor to its connection point on Phillips Road. The proposed estimate at this point is $112,375. Again, this is a estimate. It is again a time and expense estimate, but that's it's pretty comprehensive. But that's what we're going to start with, and we should get everything covered.
And I know I've said, Art, probably you wake up in the middle of the night hearing me say this, is that you know this is a municipal project, and the town is running it. I really believe we need to be communicating with Coke and Fairlife's engineers all the way along on this, so that nobody is getting surprised late in the game on this. Is that a safe statement? I'm glad you're back, Dave. Glad you're back. Because Dave, I think you were the one who said, yeah, the Costage thing works from your guys' perspective. Perfect. Any other questions?
I would move we authorize the supervisor to sign an agreement with Costage Engineering to provide engineering services for the upsizing of the sanitary sewer main from Tibor Road to Phillips Road to accept the additional flows from the Fairlife facility.
Second.
In the amount not to exceed $112,000.
Second. Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn?
Aye.
Councilman Cato?
Aye.
Councilwoman Conley?
Aye.
Supervisor Flaherty?